IFE inspires. Think IFE inspires. Think value. Culture, they say, is a way of life of people. How possible then can culture be respected without a strong connection to the mother tongue, which represents the foundation of people's culture? People from different parts of the world can easily be identified due to their language or mother tongue. Statistics have shown that the African country with the most language is Nigeria. Observers say the official language, which is English, has been a threat to Nigeria's native language. The question now is how well do people understand their mother tongue? And what is responsible for some citizens' inability to speak their mother's tongue? Ife Onyekwere took a survey on the streets of Lagos, a place that largely unites different people of various cultures, to find out why people cannot speak their mother tongue. David Taylor, an entrepreneur, says the parents are to blame for the inability of some to speak their native language.
I do speak my mother tongue very well. I can speak my dad's and my mom. So if you have to blame anyone for inability of children to speak their mother tongue, I think it's the parents, because you need to start teaching them from when they are very, very young. You get me? So because if you don't teach them, there's no way they will learn. So you are supposed to speak to your kids as soon as they are growing, from maybe when they start learning how to speak. Use your Yoruba, your Igbo, your Hausa to train them how to speak their mother tongue. When they get to school, they can learn English and other languages.
For Femi Kayode, a football scout, as much as parents should be blamed, the school should not be left out as well.
I speak my mother tongue very, very well. I'm a Yoruba. So if we're talking about who to blame when it comes to speaking your mother tongue, I think the parents have the major blame, because they stay with the kids. Even if they claim that they go to work, they come back home and they communicate with them. But most parents want to communicate with English. They want their kids to, be able to communicate outside English. So, that's the general language. But I think parents are to be blamed. But once again, we should also blame schools. I'm talking about the primary schools from the scratch. You hardly get those schools that really teach those languages, Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausas. And but what can we say? In Nigeria, we have lots of languages. So are you going to get Igbo, Hausa, Ishekiri, all those things? Are you going to get everybody to come and, teach all those languages in school? So I think parents should take chunk of the blame.
An editor, Wumi Oyeshile, also noted that the educational system is responsible for people's inability to understand or speak their mother tongue.
We blame the system of education in Nigeria because they did not appreciate our mother tongue, which is our dialect. They didn't teach us our dialects were in schools. So you have to blame the education system in Nigeria. It's very poor and we need to work on that.
An educational instructor, Abiodun Salako, says the parents, schools and the individuals themselves are to be blamed.
Yeah, I do speak my mother tongue, but it's not as fluent as it should be. So who's to blame? Well, I think all parties are to blame. Schools, parents, and of course, we. So I think what happens is the teachers need to rise up to the challenge. I think the passion they've been putting into teaching our native tongue is not really as good as it should be. And there's a way they made learning seem at the time, it wasn't really interesting. One, they have to make it interesting when we are learning about our native dialect. They have to use audio-visual apparatuses to ensure that we enjoy what we are learning. So on their part, that's what they should do. On the parents' part as well, they need to take enough attention of what the kids learn and how. And sometimes they have to sit their kids down and say, "Oh, do you know how to say this?" Or "This is what this means in our dialect," and all the stuff. And for us too, interest as well, because the interest was not there when we were learning from school. So we grew up with this kind of complacent attitude towards our native tongue. I did, to a point where I felt, it was necessary. I have to take my time and understand what my dialect and really go into it myself. It's not too late anyway for anyone who doesn't really know how to speak a dialect to learn it. So I just think three parties need to come together and just know what they're doing when it comes to the native dialect.
What do you expect in a society where the mother tongue is referred to as vernacular by some folks? In tears, the mother tongue calls to be picked back with pride. IFE inspires. Think IFE inspires. Think value.